Hello, Empowered Woman. Welcome to this episode of the Empowered Woman podcast. Today, I'll be talking about the official launch of my six-figure personality quiz. That's right. It's finally live. You get to take the quiz and find out if you're a feeler, a thinker, or a doer. And that's not all. You also get access to a free mini course that goes into more detail on the three types to make sure your test results are accurate. I also have a special opportunity to dive in even deeper. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to start believing in yourself, giving yourself permission to succeed, and let your voice be heard to make an impact in the world as an entrepreneur, this is the place for you. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. Okay, real talk. It was quite the intricate process to create this quiz. If you've ever created a quiz, then you know, but because there are 3 results, it meant having 3 separate result pages and 3 different email sequences. But I had a blast. I did it all pretty much within a week. And I am so excited because I had this idea for a long time, and I think I've already talked about this on the podcast. For a long time, I've had coaches telling me, you should be teaching the Enneagram in the business context. And this is what my book did. I finally put the Enneagram out there as a tool to help you grow as a business owner. But I hadn't connected it with marketing. And so after putting the book out, I was like, all right, I am going to relaunch my Show Up Empowered program. And the first module is not going to be get to know your ideal client. The first module is going to be get to know yourself. And that's how I'm going to start infusing the Enneagram. And we just wrapped up the second round of Show Up Empowered this week. And I can tell you how amazing it was because I told those ladies right off the bat, it's like, this is going to be my experiment. I'm going to tell you all the characteristics of these 3 types that I've created, that I've identified within the Enneagram. And I am one of them, but I need insight into the other 2 types. And I am a doer. And I would say the majority, if not all, of the ladies that were showing up consistently to the calls were thinkers and feelers. And it was so amazing because we were talking about content creation and we were looking through content creation through the lens of the personality types, not only for them to see what works best for them, but to see what their audience resonated with the most. And they gave me such amazing insight because they started paying attention to their clients and which clients tended to resonate with a type of content and then being like, oh, I know for sure that she's a thinker, so that's why. And that helped me a lot. So here's a quick note. If you are struggling to know what your audience resonates with, just look at your clients, right? Test things out in your clients because they're already paying you. They already trust you. So bring these questions to them and understand, and look to understand what they're saying to gain insight on what you can do in your content. So it's been a process of a couple of months now since I decided I was going to call it Feelers, Thinkers, and Doers. And then I decided I had to decide what I was going to call this quiz because I've been talking a lot about 6 figures, right? I know that this is kind of like a buzz goal that people online aim for. And it's also very triggering, at least for me it has been, because you see people talking about it all the time, except it feels so freaking hard to get there. And now that I've gotten there, I almost feel hypocritical because I used to be so triggered and so annoyed and felt such shame because it took me 5 years to get to 6 figures when people are saying that they have, they reach 6 figures in a couple months, or just ridiculous timelines. And I'm like, what is wrong with me? But going through the Enneagram route, I've come to realize that there's nothing wrong with me. I just need to accept myself, understand myself. In order to accept myself, I need to understand myself. And I honestly see that my personal journey is such a great lesson for me to then turn around and teach as I'm learning. You know what I mean? Because it could help other people. So while it feels hypocritical for me to use this buzz goal that used to trigger me to then turn around and do the same thing that people did to me, I want to make clear that the reason why I'm talking about six figures is not to put this pressure on you to reach it in case you hadn't, or to make you feel like this is a goal you need to have. But so it's twofold. I know it attracts attention right away because people that haven't reached it want to know what's up, but also to help you understand that you already are this person. So I'm calling it the six-figure personality quiz, but the results that you get are the same person that you are supposed to be when you get to six figures. It's just a more integrated version of yourself. It's understanding yourself in depth. In fact, I dare say that the reason why you haven't reached six figures is because you don't know who you are. And it's an ongoing process. The more you know yourself, the more you understand how limitless you are, and therefore you reach new heights. Does this make sense? So I decided to call it the six-figure personality, but in reality, this is not just to six figures. This is to anything. You know, I could call it the empowered mom personality quiz, the empowered wife, whatever it is, wherever you are in your journey. If you are not experiencing the reality or the results that you would like, understand that you can. In a different plane, you already have when you think quantum, whatever. So how do you close that gap? The gap between where you are and where you want to be? It starts with you. No amount of strategy, no amount of external details for your business and to grow your business are going to work if you don't take the time to understand who you are. This is where we have to start, right? Because you're the common denominator. You bring yourself in everything that you do. So why do we spend so much time looking outside of ourselves? If you've been listening to my podcast long enough, if you've been a client of mine, if you've been around me long enough, you know that for me, it all starts with you. That's why I call it the empowered woman. I don't call it the six-figure woman. I call it the empowered woman. And the empowered woman, especially if you've read my book, I have to add that to the list. If you've read my book, and if you haven't, by the way, go check it out. You can find it on Amazon, or go to my website and you can find a link to get a signed copy. And I'd like to report that I'm actively working on my audiobook. Many people have asked me. It's almost ready. Bear with me. And I know it's going to be kind of like a second launch once I have the Audible out, because I know more people are going to want to listen, even if they've already bought the book. It's kind of hard sometimes to get around to actually sitting down and reading. But that also depends on your personality type, I will add. Anyway, so it starts with you. It has to start with you. So if you're feeling stuck in your business in any capacity, go back to yourself. That's really the best advice anyone can give to you. If you're stuck in your business, sure, hire a coach to help you see outside of yourself, right? If you're having a hard time looking within. But the best coach really will tell you to look within. The best coach won't just tell you to try a new strategy, because unless you have that confidence in yourself, it's not going to work, at least not long term. And having that confidence within yourself, quote unquote, is the same as knowing who you are. Because if you really know who you are, then you have the ability to then trust what that is. You can't love what you don't know. You have to get to know who you are, okay? So I just wanted to tell you why I decided to call it this. And then the other part of this is I've noticed through the years that when sharing the Enneagram with clients, they get kind of excited to take the quiz, to take the test, and then find their type. But it doesn't go past that. They kind of stop there. And the Enneagram is not a test. The Enneagram is a personality framework. You're supposed to be studying it. And it's an ongoing thing because you find out new layers as you go. And ideally, you need to understand the other types. But I understand that not everyone is into this kind of stuff or want to dedicate themselves to that. So that's another reason why I decided to kind of make it simpler. Instead of 9 types, creating 3 types so that you see the contrast. Because that is one of the things that I have been learning. We need polarity and we need contrast in life, because you can't know what something is until you understand what it is not. And the same goes for you, right? You can't truly understand where you begin and where you stop and understand your boundaries as a person if you don't know what you're not, right? So it's the same. When you understand yourself, you get to know other people too. It's one thing is dependent upon the other, you know? So it's a lot easier to understand 3 types and to want to dive into 3 types than 9 types. So that was another reason why I created this. And now I see that this framework is really going to be infused in all of my content. In fact, I've decided that I'm not going to be creating new content, so to speak. I'm just going to be revisiting everything I've created, especially last year that I created a ton of content and really solidified my message. I'm going to start revisiting and looking through my content through the lens of these 3 types. I've shared on here before what the types are, but you're going to be hearing me talk about this all the time, okay? So just get used to it because there are new layers to it. And the more you see how different they are, the easier it is for you to pinpoint what they are. I actually just heard from a client that took the quiz and said it's interesting because the quiz gave me a different result to what my Enneagram test results said. And to that I say, don't get caught up in either of them. I want you to study the 3 types because it's easier than the 9 types. And then pay attention to your behavioral patterns and see which one resonates the most. Which one describes your tendencies the most? That's it. So it is important to then study the types, all 3 of them, okay? And not just get caught up in the quiz. And that is why I didn't just create the quiz, because I know how problematic a quiz and a test are. That's the problem that people run into when they take the Enneagram test. It doesn't end there, because a quiz cannot be as accurate as a human analyzing somebody else, right? Or in this case, you analyzing yourself, because you're with you all the time. So you may as well take the time to get to know the tendencies and the patterns that you have. That's the whole point of all of it, end of life, right? And so I didn't want to end it at the quiz, and that's why I created a little mini course. That's why I was even more involved of a process, because I created a course inside my members portal, but it's free. You can just sign up and get access to it as soon as you're finished with the quiz. And then it has a video, a training video for each of the types, going in depth on what these characteristics translate into, or how they manifest themselves in terms of your mindset, in terms of the strategy of your business, and in terms of your relationships. And it's fascinating because there are differences to it. And that is what I have been learning as I've been sharing this with clients, and they've been noticing it and coming back to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not crazy. There's actually truth to what I'm teaching. You know, it's nice to have that validation and that confirmation. And so basically we've been talking about like, what kind of content do feelers resonate with? And one of my clients was even talking about, she started doing more breakout rooms inside one of her programs. And she started noticing why they were so helpful, but for different reasons for different people. So this is such great insight for you to learn to work with yourself and create a work schedule, or know how to create content, know how to approach clients, or what feels better for yourself. And also how to challenge yourself to grow. Because your path to growth is looking at the other 2 types that you're not. They do things that are not natural to you. And those are the things that if you learn to master, it'll really make you a more well-rounded person that understands themselves and understands other people. It's a beautiful, magical process. But one of the things that we talked a lot about in this program, and that I want to bring up to you because it's very business related, and I want to make it a point to connect us with business at all the time, is that people's motivations to take action are different. So when you think buying decisions, you've heard many people say that it's all emotionally based, right? People make decisions in terms of their emotions. But the motivation behind that emotion is different because they have different personality types. And of course, there are nuances to that, and that's when you get into the Enneagram. It's kind of like subcategories of the category if you want to go more in depth. And so what we've identified that is so amazing is that I've identified that feelers tend to take action on 2 levels, or 2 sides of the same coin. They want to feel safe. They want to hear from other people, like testimonials and stories, to make them feel like you are the expert and that it is safe for them to want to work with you. Like there's proof that this has worked for somebody else. That is very important for feelers. So if you're a feeler, this should resonate with you, right? Or if this resonates with you, you most likely are a feeler. And you know that there are clients out there that ask those questions, those last minute questions, because they want to make sure that this is going to work for them. And in fact, I dare say that feelers and thinkers tend to be the ones that buy last minute, because doers are a lot more impulsive and they don't need much to convince them. It's more based on the excitement, but I'll get there in a minute. So feelers, they need that safety but they also want to challenge themselves. So here's where I've heard from my clients, and I'll talk about this amazing opportunity that I have in a minute to go even deeper with this knowledge, is my clients that are feelers, they tend to join my programs because they see in me this action taker and they want to push themselves. And they know that I can push them because I push myself clearly. They see that in me. So pay close attention to this in yourself and also in clients' behavior. Now let's move on to thinkers. Thinkers are more interested in the details and in the mechanism of things. They want to understand why it works. So I would say out of feelers and doers, sales pages are probably the main, or thinkers are the ones who take a look at sales pages more than anything. I would say feelers would look at sales pages more because they want to look for the testimonials and the stories. But thinkers are the ones that want to know the details and to want to understand why what you're telling them is going to work versus other stuff that they have tried. So they're more interested in the methodology than in the stories. So thinkers will join a program because they feel like it makes sense, it's logical sense to them that this has a great possibility of it working, but also because of the community aspect of it. It is important for thinkers to have access to somebody to ask questions to. They like, even though they are more secluded and they're more withdrawn, the challenge path or the growth path for thinkers and the reason why they would join a program is because of the accountability, because they struggle to take action too. So feelers and thinkers struggle to take action, but what the reason that is different, right? For feelers, it's because they don't want to make a mistake. For thinkers, is because they have a hard time putting themselves out there. They don't want to be judged and they don't want to be rejected. You see what that means? How that crazy that is? It's very nuanced, right? And so when feelers and thinkers decide to invest in a program, especially if it is led by an action taker that is a doer, the feelers tend to invest because they want to be pushed to take a risk. They want to be pushed to be challenged. Whereas the thinkers tend to invest because they want to engage with somebody else and kind of take all the stuff that is in their heads outside for somebody else to see. And it's a very vulnerable spot, right? It's them coming out and showing what they have to get feedback from other people. And not that they don't take criticism well, but it's more so of like taking it personally in the sense of, there I have it. I put myself out there and it's not good enough. Because the biggest subconscious fear for thinkers is really the fear of not belonging. And then finally, doers, and it's interesting because thinkers and feelers have so many similarities, but they're not the same. But the biggest contrast, I would say, is feelers and thinkers versus doers. Because doers don't care much about details, like feelers and thinkers. They don't care much about proof. They're more in it for being told exactly what to do so that they can go ahead and do it. They're not going to overthink things. They're not thinkers. And they're not going to sit and wait to see how it feels. They're literally just going to go and do. So I would say doers make a buying decision more based on the excitement that they feel. And I think it's a combination too of other people saying this worked for me, other people saying, hey, I joined, the community aspect. Doers are much more inclined to feel FOMO. So if there's any urgency to what it is that you create, that is so appealing to doers. And that's why I don't see doers doing things or acting on things last minute, because when they get that hit, they just do it. They are very impulsive like that, which is such a beautiful quality when you think feelers and thinkers struggling to take action. So if you're very decisive, if you go shopping and you don't take 3 million years to pick something, you're most likely a doer. That's a struggle for feelers and thinkers because they don't want to make a mistake, right? And they want to be extremely informed before they take action. And so for doers, the reason why they would invest to then be challenged, or their growth path really is learning to slow down, learning to trust, I like to say that I actually made some posts, and I'll keep creating content. Make sure you're in my Facebook group, because I'm doing series of explaining specific details and characteristics of each of the types. But I came up, like I thought of different sayings or little proverbs or whatever, and which ones would be more cringe to each of the types. So I would say that for feelers, the cringe saying would be done is better than perfect. Oh, if you want to challenge a feeler, you tell them it's good enough, just put it out there. This eats at them because they want to keep working on it until it's perfect, and it's never going to be perfect. A cringe saying for thinkers would be, work with what you have. What you have is enough, just work with what you have. They don't believe that. That's why they want to keep studying. They want to keep analyzing. You see how it is kind of similar to feelers, but it has a different nuance. And then for doers, a cringe saying would be, good things come to those who wait. Doers don't have time to wait. At least that's their perception. They want it, and they want it now. That's why they take action. And that's a beautiful characteristic and trait to have, but it can get in your way. Do you see what I mean? Being detail-oriented and a perfectionist is a beautiful characteristic to have, but it can get in your way. So you can learn from the other types, right? Wanting to understand how things work and the intricacies is a beautiful characteristic to have. That's why we have, scientists and people that have such attention to detail. But it can get in your way, because there comes a point when you just need to believe that it is okay to put it out there and not worry so much about stuff. Anyway, I could go on and on and on. I'm just so passionate about seeing in 3 dimensions, seeing everything in 3 ways. Like, that's why I want to keep talking about the mindset of these 3 types, the strategies that work for these 3 types as an audience and as the agent, the ones, doing the business. And then the connections. How do you connect with other feelers? If you're a feeler, how do you connect with other feelers and thinkers and doers and all the way around, right? But let me talk to you about the opportunity, because it is time sensitive. So besides having the course on there, and obviously you can always join the Empowered Woman School and take some of my self-paced courses that will help you with diving deeper into your personality type and the strategy, the relationships, all that stuff. I've decided to start a 90-day mastermind inside my school, but I'm opening it up just for a few days. So just for the next couple of days or so. It's a 90-day mastermind called the Empowered Woman School Six Figure Mastermind. So if you're really, really into understanding your personality type and how to leverage that to grow your business to 6 figures and beyond, then you have to join this mastermind. It's going to be weekly calls for 3 months. We're going to dive into mindset, strategy, and relationships according to your type. I'm going to be breaking the group into types. We're going to have accountability buddies. It's going to be very structured in terms of the schedule and what I'll have you look at and what kind of content you're going to be looking at, because I'm going to give you all the content. Again, I'm not creating new content. Everything is already in my courses, in my membership. I'm just going to be pointing you. So you get lots of bonuses, and the link's going to be in the show notes. But you get essentially all of my programs if you join this mastermind. It's pretty ridiculous. And you also get the weekly calls for me to help you, guide you into what exactly you need to be doing. So it's amazing. It's amazing. The price point is also very bananas. It's $333, 3 payments of $333. So it's a little under actually $1,000, because it's $999, and you get access to everything I've ever done, pretty much, because I want to test this thing out. So if you're wanting to be a beta, essentially, for me to test the 3 personality types through all my content and give you accountability and get to pick my brain and work with me for 3 months, this is for you. I hope you'll take me up on it, and I'll put all the links in the show notes. But I'm super excited. So go on and take the quiz. This is the bottom line of the episode. marchasburke.com/quiz. Just go on ahead and take the quiz. You'll access the mini course, and then I hope you will either take me up on joining my school, taking my self-paced programs, or get it all for 3 months inside the mastermind. Thanks so much for tuning in today. Once again, go on and take the quiz. Just go to marciaspurk.com/quiz and join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook to share your results. I would love to hear from you. Are you a thinker, a feeler, or a doer? Does it resonate? Let me know. And also, take me up on my offer. Join my mastermind. Like I said, you get so much stuff, so much content, but the most important thing is accountability for 90 days to know exactly what to consume and when, and grow. See massive growth and massive results in 3 months. I hope to see you there. Until next time, bye.